I agree that commitment is a major issue for people. We live in a society where everything is a la carte. You know, you can subscribe to everything or unsubscribe to everything. You can buy everything or not buy everything. You can literally do anything that you want all the time. And it's even trickled down to even how we raise children now. You know, they have everything at their hands and their fingertips from a young age. And then you wonder why they have short attention spans or why they can't focus or why they feel like they deserve more than what they should because they've been given the world for a long time. And I think it is true. Some people are scared of responsibility. People are scared of making the wrong decision and stuff like that. Um, this is something that I've been learning lately, and I feel like God's kind of like been dropping it in my spirit. And the thing that he's kind of been, I feel like he's been showing me is that don't rush the process just because you're late to the party. And oftentimes,
Ooh, the facts, sir. Facts. Go ahead. I just had to say, ooh,
Repeat that
ooh,
again,
ooh.
HD.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
don't rush the process because you're late to the party. And what that essentially saying is that oftentimes, as we keep getting up in age or we feel like we done this and this, that, and the third, we're like, well, shoot, in 6 months to a year, somebody should be able to make that decision that you're supposed to have a lifetime with this person off of a 6 month to a year vetting process, right? Now, granted, can this work? Possibly. But in my opinion, this is one thing I learned from one of my pastors in marriage counseling. Why would you think that if you spent 20, oh, this is how it happened. So one of my pastors was like, how old are you? I was like, I'm 25. Um, and he said, how long have you been married? And I think it was like a year or so at this time. Yeah, I think it was like a year or so. And he was like, what makes you think that if you've been single for 25 years, that you'd be able to conquer marriage in a year or two? You have spent more time apart and doing your own thing than you have been together. So even though the process has started as you get married and you become one, you got to understand that you've been doing things separately your whole life. So it's going to take your whole life to begin to understand what it means to become one with this person, right? And I was like, all right, cool. And oftentimes when you're hearing relationships with or you're hearing conversations with women, like they're like, hey, I gotta hurry up and get this kid, or I gotta get this degree, I gotta get this, I gotta get that. And it's always a clock because in all truth, you're gonna eventually be able to you might miss the window if you don't actually get on top of things. But then again, if you get something and you get something that you want too soon, you're going to end up having more issues with the thing that's actually for you. So I tend to try to tell people now, after what I've been hearing for the last few years or whatnot, hey, listen, uh have more grace for yourself and understand, like, yo, you might be late to the party, but don't be in such a rush to get to the finish line that you miss all the obstacles in your way as you continue to do these things. Like, listen to this person, figure out who this person is, try to do the best you can, bring other people in the mix, that you may know or that, trust and this, that, and the third. And also understand, like, listen, you can make a good decision and it could still not work out for you. Are you okay with that potential outcome? You know, if you're okay with that, I think you should be okay. But the thing is that we hang everything on everything going well, that we feel like if anything goes wrong, we feel like life is going to be over. Listen, when I got divorced, I cried like a little girl. I'm not gonna lie to you. And it was a very real pain. And I didn't think that I would make it through that pain of dealing with that situation, right? But as I kept living, as I kept fighting and I kept going forward, I realized, well, dang, I didn't went literally from the bottom. And now I can honestly say, I say, yo, like as you continue to keep going, it might not be the best, but it can get better if you should choose to continue to move in the right direction and be around people that, care about you and that's willing to work with you. You're going to take losses, you're going to fail, and be okay with knowing that if you have been taken care of up until this point, and if you believe in God, He carried you up until this point, there might be a possibility He might continue to carry you further. So I try to encourage people to be like, hey, listen, you know, it only gets better if you continue to get up. And then I think that people would have better chances in relationships if they stop making it so serious. Like, oh, it's got to be right now. Da da da. I was like, listen, take your time. Because if you're going to be married to this person, listen, you're going to have good times and bad times. And if you can't handle both of those, you about to be jacked up.
I want to say real quick, Big Boss in the chat said, I think HD just gave the answer and why black men think it's okay to date for 6 to 10 years. That's not what he said. What he said was, just because you're late to the party. Say it again for me one more time, please, HD.
I said, don't rush the process just because you're late to the party. I
And
would never co-sign being in a relationship with a guy for 6 to 10 years. Like, even when you're in high school, like, what are you doing?
so what I get from that is, there are so many things that need to take place in order to have a successful marriage. You're not going to automatically, on day one on your wedding night, go from single to everything's perfect. There's a process that needs to take place. And just because there's a process, that doesn't mean that you have a bad marriage. It just means that there's a process that has to take place. And I think he stated it perfectly. You were single for HD at that time. He was single for 24, 25 years. So you go from living that particular life to living a life with someone, you're not going to have it all figured out. So I think he made his point very, very clear. And I don't think at any point did I hear HD suggest that men and women get into 6 to 10 year relationships and waste each other's time. I don't believe I heard that. And if you were saying that, HD, you can feel free to correct me.
No, I wasn't at all. Like, if you decide to marry somebody in 6 months to a year, you're taking a risk. If you decide to be in a relationship with a guy for 6 years, you're taking a risk. I've heard stories of people being in relationships for 10 years and they eventually got married. I've heard people have been in a relationship for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. The 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 reality is if people aren't comfortable to be in said relationship or make said decision, they're not going to make it. It don't matter how long you wait, it don't matter what you do. If this person does not want to make that decision, he's not or she's not going to make it. There's nothing you're gonna do about it. If he don't wanna marry you, he don't wanna marry you. If she don't wanna talk to you, she not does not wanna talk to you. So, I think too many times we focus on the people who don't really want us, and sometimes it's hard to, like, really figure out because people will show flashes that they want you, and you'll take the flashes as being gold, right? And then you'll start trying to invest in people that you probably shouldn't, but you would only truly know the validity if you should do that or not over time. So I think that that's why I said we don't give ourselves enough grace to like take the time and process. Like if you're seeing red flags, like pay attention to them. But don't be like, all right, red flag, I'm about to leave unless it's like egregious. Like try to study and learn. Like, because the thing is, it's also something I learned just because you might not be able to be in a relationship with this person doesn't mean you can't enjoy a good conversation or actually learn about this person. Like, I can listen to a person and start talking to them and being like, oh, I don't think this is about to go too far, but I'm still going to have a cordial conversation because, like, you never know what that conversation did for that person and how that carries over into the next conversation. Because if all the conversations that women have with men is just extremely like rah, 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 and they're not coming to conversations with men that can actually like have a legitimate conversation that isn't like full of strife and anger and stuff like that. Like we always talk about all these problems that we have, but we can't even be nice to each other. We can't even be like, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, okay. I'm not for you." "Okay, well, I apologize for, talking to you this long, but, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day." Like, many times, if we just were kind to each other, we'd probably have a lot more better results.